Hello and welcome to another Silver Alert from PAX Unplugged 2025 in lovely Philadelphia. I'm sitting here with Kervin, the founder of 4Y Games. Kervin is a tabletop designer and has recently kickstarted a game called MarshHallow. But we're going to touch on a few things. Kervin, why don't you say hi?
Howdy.
Because that's what you do in Texas. My dad is from Waco. Yeah. So, and it suits him. But yeah, so you've been working on MarshHallow for a while because I've been following you on TikTok. I remember seeing your posts about handing out bags of marshmallows to people as a little. That's so memorable. So how long have you been working on MarshHallow?
I've been working on MarshHallow for about 3 years, and if I'm not mistaken, you saw me at Gen Con. That's when I first met you.
Yeah.
We were outside of the BIPOC Lounge. I was like, oh, here, have marshmallows.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah. But yeah, it's been about 2.5 years. I've been talking about it on and off, and the whole idea of using freeze-dried marshmallows, because in the game, you play Marshall the Marshmallow, whose family has been abducted by a marshmallow cult. And so you go to break them out with animals of the marsh. And I thought for like swag, why not give something that's thematic and also you can eat, because at conventions it's really hard to find time to eat. So people would more likely come up to you and be like, hey, can I have marshmallows? And yeah, that's how that came to be.
Yeah, it's 2:00 and Matt and I just ate our first meal of the day. So it is no lie. These things are fun, but this is also a little bit like work. But so how are you finding PAX Unplugged so far?
PAX Unplugged is my favorite convention I go to. It's like Gen Con, but it's smaller and also wider aisles. And I'm 5'2", so I haven't got knocked over yet. I've gotten run into, but like at Gen Con, it's just like constant of like, where's everybody? And I'm backpack height, so if people turn, they get me every time.
And I don't know if you've ever seen those all play backpacks. They're like 2 feet deep. They're a menace. I don't.
Every time I see one, I make a note of it and stay away.
So, how long have you how'd you come to game design? What took you the path down that road?
I started in board games. My first board game was probably 10 years ago. Got into board games, went to my first Gen Con, and then life got in the way, and then I came back 4 years ago, and I had an idea for a game. I woke up in the middle of the night wanting to buy a mansplaining party game, but all the ones out there were trivia games. It was trivia style, where there was only one answer, and that didn't make sense to me. And I complained about it for so long that someone said, "Why don't you just make it?" And I said, "Why don't I just make it?" And so I went to the grocery store, and I designed 80% of my first game by the bananas at a local HEB, which is a supermarket in Texas. And that's how it started. And then I joined TikTok as a joke because it was like post-pandemic. And how do you talk about your game? I said I would never go to a convention to promote my game. I said I would never do TikTok trends. I said I would never work a booth. I've done them all. As of this convention, by the way. And then that's how I got kind of into the space and learned about games and game design. I've always loved games, video games. I grew up on Super Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, all of them. And I thought I'd give it a try.
Well, I'm glad you did. So where can people find your games right now? And I know one is the Kickstarter is complete, but for the mansplaining game, where do people get that?
That's just on my website, 4ygames.com. If you go to the Kickstarter for MarshHallow, we are still accepting late pledges up until when we fulfill the game, which hopefully will be June. Fingers crossed on tariffs.
So I know I'm hopping around a bit here, but so for MarshHallow, not being super deep in board games, I know there's different styles of board games. For the board game folks that know that lingo, could you explain the rule system and how you win and all that?
Sure. So MarshHallow is what we call a cooperative polyomino flip and right, which is a lot of words. Cooperative is you win or lose as a team and you play against the board. Polyominoes are Tetris pieces, so your traditional Tetris pieces, and then polyominoes the not plural, but plural of domino. So it's multi-square pieces.
Okay.
And then flip and write is a type of roll and write, and a roll and write is simply like Yahtzee is a roll and write most people know. It's you have paper and pen and dice or a card as your randomizer. And so that's kind of what MarshHallow is. You place pieces onto a map, and you use those pieces to navigate the map.
That sounds pretty cool. So, having all those descriptors as part of the game, are there other games that you take an inspiration from to build your game?
One of my favorite games is called Blockus. It's like a 4-player game where you have different colors, and the goal of the game is to place all these random pieces onto the board and use all your pieces. And basically, my game is a love letter to Blockus with a theme, because it's an abstract game. And so most polyomino games are Tetris style, where you're trying to place them as efficiently as possible in a confined space. And this game, you're placing them on corners to like navigate the map similar to Blockus.
Okay. That sounds cool. I can grok that. So I'll be sure to put all the links in the description. But the big thing is I want to touch on another piece. Part of your growing TikTok profile, you talk quite a bit about and passionately about diversity in games. So can you just kind of go into some of your thoughts about that and things that we can do better as folks in the space in the community?
I actually had no intention of talking about like any of my experiences or talking about diversity in the board game space. But I found the more I came into the space and the more I like went to conventions and met publishers and designers, it made everything I wanted to do make more sense if I explained why. Like why I wanted different types of games, why representation mattered, and I started sharing my stories in the space. Talking about at gaming tables, at board game forums, at conventions. And I think for me, when it comes to diversity, like you can't change people's minds until you change their hearts. And it's hard to have people consider your point of view if they've never even heard your point of view. I had no idea how radical it was for me to talk on TikTok about, hey, this is what happened at a board gaming table. This is why I was offended. This is how I processed it. And this is how I and like what I chose to take from it. And just having that just style of talking about diversity doesn't really exist. I feel like a lot of people when we talk about diversity say like, you have to, you need to, you must. And there's all these like things where we all require different things. Yeah. I think the most important thing is just listening and like not being afraid to ask questions. I talk a lot about like allyship because I had no idea it was hard to be an ally, and there's like levels of reasons of why it's hard to be an ally. And the more you talk about allies in the space, the more I had to learn about things they had to take into consideration that I never thought you'd have to. So I think it's important to listen. I think it's important to be honest and knowing that there's a time and a place for those conversations. And you can't just like walk up to someone who talks about diversity on TikTok and be like, you're a minority, tell me your experience. I'm like, which has happened on the expo floor. Like I've had people walk up to me and just pick me up, and I'm like, I'm an adult dude. I don't care about being picked up. I care more about like, I don't trust you can put me down far enough. Like I'm old. Like my knees. Like I can't do it either. Like, but I don't think.
Yeah, and no, that's great. And to be honest, like I don't even know how to define allyship because sometimes. Like I'm a super skeptical person, so I kind of always worry about is this performative and what's like I don't need like do I some of it sounds like Mitt Romney's binders full of women kind of conversations. So like I mean, how would you define allyship? What is it? That's a lot. So.
I will say when it comes to like allyship, the big thing is like don't tell me you're an ally, just show me. When people feel safe, you will know. And which is very different than if people aren't safe, you may not always know. But like I feel like when like don't tell me you're a safe space, show me, and then you will know it's a safe space by like how often or like how meaningful we interact in that space. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes perfect. Like the first thing you said is like, honestly, again, being super skeptical. As soon as I say, somebody has in their bio ally, it's like, how do you know you're an ally? It's like you can't like I can't like declare myself an ally unless like someone would have to tell me, you're being, right now, right this second, you're doing the work. So that's kind of my take on it.
The hardest thing for me when I decided to talk about diversity in the space was that so my main platform is TikTok, and there's like 8 of us. And when I first started, it was just me who was a minority. And so like, can you talk about diversity if every video when you show people are like cishet white males? Like that's hard.
Yeah.
And so I've made it. That's why I talk about it, and also why I come to conventions to build the community, because we still haven't all found each other yet. Like Isaac at the Rose Gallant Foundation does an amazing job. He does the BIPOC Lounge at Gen Con, the Women in Gaming in Origins, and the Big Gay Dinner at PAX Unplugged. And it's at these events where I get to meet people that I never would have met otherwise, and like build connections that way in a genuine way.
That's awesome. So good things are happening. It's a journey, not a destination. So I thank you so much for spending some time and getting to know you a little bit more. So I really appreciate this. But any final words?
You were one of the first people to recognize me ever, and it was surreal. I was with Sonia at This Geeky Life, and we were upstairs by the BIPOC Lounge, and you're like, Kervin, Sonia, here, have things. And we're like, we're doing things. We're being recognized for things. And it was great. And I just want you to know that, like, that meant a lot.
That's awesome. I know. I really enjoy your content, even though I'm not a board game person. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.